first question, what are the most valuable things you learned about literature and reading?
I learned the most valuable thing I learned in some authors. They use different genres to pull in different readers, and so I don't like racism, and I found that To Kill a Mockingbird interesting. I know every time the N word popped up in the book, it made me want to hear more of the story.
Oh, well, yeah, kind of building off of that. The most valuable thing I learned about reading was kind of immersing yourself in the book based off your interests. So in the story To Build a Fire, we had to put ourselves in his shoes and kind of understand what he was going through and what we would have done in that situation.
Mine's nothing to do with either of those. But I learned all the different reading strategies and how do I explain it?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I said I learned more about the theme, the plot, characters, and setting and conflict while reading in my book.
Okay, well, mine really has nothing to do with this either. It's having an intention while you're reading, and I don't know, it makes you get more out of the story and stuff.
I agree with at the beginning of class when we'd have the focus question or whatever, it gave us something to look for when we were reading.
Yeah. That's it. Oh.
I'd say for when I was reading, I was okay with trying to find having a point to it, trying while you're reading, trying to find characteristics of people in it, trying to get a plot diagram. But I didn't like it when we did reading marathons because you'd have to stop, do something, wait for a while, then we get into back reading, and I found that kind of interrupted it, and it was hard to get back into the story during that.
Yeah, kind of going off what you said, when we take pauses like that, I felt like I would kind of get out of the book and not as into it as I was with just nonstop reading.
I also think it all depends on the book you're reading, because the books you're not interested in, you're obviously not going to want to read because it's just not interesting. So it depends on what kind of books you like.
Yeah, I agree with all three of you. Except for I thought I liked the reading marathon because I got to read a lot more than the first 20 minutes that we normally got to read. So I was more into the book, but yeah. Noah?
Yeah, I agree with you. That the reading marathon was good because you had to stop and comprehend what you were reading.
Hudson?
Well, I said in the books we learned racism is not good.
Okay, that
Why?
was
What makes you think that? Elaborate on that. What about the book made you think that
what
racism?
books? What are some examples?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because all races should be equal.
Okay, no.
So, what book showed you this? Or made
To
you think
Kill
this?
a Mockingbird.
Oh, okay. What Carmine said.
So our next question, what are the most valuable things you learned about the writing process?
I learned how beneficial rough drafts are to see your mistakes in I don't know, sorry.
I learned how good peer reviews are, and because I thought I was done, and I thought mine was really good, but then I had someone look over it 2 times, and I got more out of it because they showed me that I needed.
I think the most valuable thing I learned in the writing process was making an outline to make sure that you had all the stuff in your essay that you wanted, and it just helps organize it and make it better.
Yeah, I'd agree with all the peer reviews. I'd like to say whenever you have somebody else reading what you worked on, it could be a bit uncomfortable to start out with, but in the end they normally end up getting you constructive criticism and ways you can improve it by changing stuff around, adding new words, etc., etc.
Yeah, kind of going off of all of you said, I thought revisions are the most important part because a lot of times I would find things back that I just needed to add more details to make my story more interesting or my essay.
I think going back to the peer review part with the last peer review we just did, reading our stories out loud, that was helpful because you can hear yourself with the mistakes and you can change them.
I have another thing. When we had an assigned, she gave us the topic. I didn't really like that compared to our last essay because we got to write about something we wanted to write about, and it didn't all have to be the same. So I like that a lot more because I could think.
Yeah. like we like got more like involved with the stories we were writing when we got to choose because it actually interested us compared to topics that were given to us and like we had to write about.
The most important thing I learned was how important description is to your writing.
Why is it important?
Does it lets the reader comprehend it more and lets them know where it's at and who's in the story?
Yeah, I'd agree with the description because when you go into more detail about characters' location, it's kind of easier to imagine what it looked like without having to give like a straight up image in it. So I find that is helpful.
Hudson, do you have anything?
Not really.
Okay, Carmen?
I've learned that the most valuable thing in the writing process is the climax. Because if you don't have a climax, a lot of readers will lose interest. Another important part is conclusion. And if you don't conclude, it's a cliffhanger, and everybody hates cliffhangers.
Yeah, I think just like the plot in general, like making sure it's all there and it's like a complete like story.
Yeah, like going off of what you both said, when Miss Hartwig told us the like rising action, the climax, the resolution, like all that on the board, I think that really helped me with my other stories and like actually having parts in the stories.
Anything else? No.
What are the most valuable things you learned about communication?
Oh, you need to understand the person to communicate to them. So, example, if they're a boss, you gotta be bossy back. Guys, and if they're depressed, you talk to them depressingly because it will make them listen more because you're relating to them.
I think that doing peer reviews was really helpful because we got to talk to other people about what they thought about our stories, and they could tell us what they thought we needed to change in their point of views.
Yeah, in the stories and in like our Socratic discussions, like just asking for other people's opinions and just like hearing them out can change your beliefs and what your original point was.
So like with Ashley and Hannah, I think the peer reviews because like if someone like says something is wrong with like your story, like you can like ask them things about it and like what they think you could do to make your writing better or like anything better in general, I guess. In the Socratic discussions, just like seeing other people's points of views and like what they think on certain topics.
Going like more off of what Ashton said, I said like that I've learned through communication that we can get like great feedback from everyone, and then that makes us have an even better like essay or something that we're doing.
Hudson, do you think communication is important?
I said you have to be into the conversation or it'll become boring.
Can you give us an example?
Right now.
I feel like communication is also really important. Obviously, not just in like English class, but every class. So you can like it helps with learning mainly, I guess. So you can see how other people learn and like try it and see if it helps you. So you can like better your own learning.
I also think that like communication is you need it for the outside world and like not just for literature. And like so like for basketball you need to communicate on the court so you know what's like happening.
Yeah, like going off like real world examples of you're having an argument with someone and like you don't like see an end coming, like you can just stop and just hear them out and just hear what they have to say and then resolve it.
I feel like the communication skills we've learned in school are really helpful in the real world because it can help. Because with communication, you can try and find like clarification for something you don't understand, and like it'd be easier like understand other people if you know how to communicate well.
Noah?
I agree with Aubrey because if you cannot communicate well, you will not understand the point that it's trying to get across.
Carmine or Hudson?
I already said mine.
Yeah, I did too.
You did not say.
No, you didn't.
We'll just elaborate more on.
Yeah, we didn't like.
Yeah.
I want to know like more of what you're thinking.
I don't
Some
understand.
real world examples.
Yeah, what's like yeah. Nice, Ashton. Nice.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Good explanation.
So anyone have any further discussion about that?
I think we all kind of got some idea here from this one.
Yeah.
What are the most valuable things you learned about learning and thinking?
The most valuable thing I learned about thinking is to have like a full thought process and think everything through.
I learned all the different like strategies and methods that everyone may use. Like some people like may like the three big questions and some may not. Or like even outside of class, like different strategies people like may use in math or just like not everyone learns the same way.
I learned I learned how different people learn at different paces, and like sometimes you need to break stuff down to understand it better. And
Yeah.
Okay. I also agree with Hannah and Adeline. Like I learned more with like the posters like all around the room and like the great elements for an essay and yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah. Like some like
Yeah.
I
if
have
you, like for instance, like shoot. Okay.
Okay, Aubrey, go.
I have some,
Oh, okay. That's my mind.
you go, Aubrey.
Okay, I'd say that people they have different ways that they can learn. Some at different paces. Some people can find it easier, like they would rather have information be relayed to them in a video format, so watching something on like YouTube. Some would rather have it being written and reading that. And they find it easier to do that. Some prefer hands-on, some prefer hands-off.
Yeah, like going off that, like in our metacognitive unit, like just learning about all the different strategies that people have used, and just building off of that.
I think the different paces is a big part because like if you are in a like group and someone learns at a faster or slower pace than you, like you have to learn to like, keep up or like slow down so that they can.
Going off of what you were saying, I think like everyone has their different like way to learn and different like some people learn faster than others and then that makes the others think they aren't like good enough. But yeah, it's okay.
Hermione can go now.
Finally, okay. I found out that most teenagers need 10 hours of sleep in order for their brain to work properly. I found out that most people in this school do not sleep that long. And so that it would affect their learning.
So do you get a lot of sleep then?
Yeah, I get 12 hours a day.
What articles made you believe that, or like?
The metacognitive unit we did in first quarter, we found out that sleeping is good for the brain. That's its time to repair itself.
I don't really understand like how you found out about all the people in the school. Can you expand on
Yeah,
that?
where'd you get all this information?
Oh, so there's a survey, right?
You got sources?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Just pay it though.
Well, anyways, Hudson, what do you?
Yeah, I haven't heard from you
Yeah.
much.
I wrote. We learned that learning and thinking is good for us because we learn and think.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
That is beautiful, Hudson.
Has anything in your life like affected that belief? Like, what happened in
Well,
your
some
life?
I
examples?
have learned more things, and
Like
I
what?
am thinking right now.
Like, what's the things you've learned like about learning and thinking? Aside from that, you learn and think is good.
Don't remember.
Okay.
Okay, so
Noah?
I'll give you a quiz.
No,
Okay, what
no,
do you
Carmine, no.
I think it's no.
Aubrey.
No idea.
I want to go back to what Shay said about how the ways like people learn. If they see somebody learning, if one person A sees some like person B learning a way, and they can't figure out how to do it, they will think they're stupid. And you kind of
Whoa.
compare that to comparing how which animal is the best by seeing how to climb a tree. Like fish in a tree, fish can't climb a tree. So people would regard that as stupid if climbing a tree to work out its animal. So measuring people on different qualities and seeing how good they are at different qualities can help get rid of. You have to be able to do one thing, and that makes you smart. But you can be good at different things and still be smart.
Noah?
Noah?
I think one of the most important things we learned was that there's many ways to learn, and to find out which one best suits you is good, so you can learn more efficiently.
Yeah, like going off of that, like just almost like I think everyone in this classroom has a different way of like learning and thinking, and you just have to be patient with them and just understand where they're coming from.
Yeah, because like some things suit some people better, and
So, do we have anything else we need to say?
No, okay.
Ashton got it.
What are the most valuable things that you learned about yourself through English 1?
I learned that I should probably only focus on one thing at once so that I can put my full effort into it and give it all my attention. And I also think it's important. Actually, somebody else can go.
Going off of what Hannah said, I said like I think the most valuable things that I learned were that peer reviews are like actually useful because I thought they were like a waste of time, but I actually learned that they are very useful and it actually helps you in the end to get like a better score and to make your essay better. And I also said like that we all learn at different speeds and it's okay to like make mistakes. It just makes you a better learner.
I learned that discrimination is bad.
Why?
Because so in To Kill a Mockingbird, Tom Robinson. So they judged him from his skin color, but he seemed like a really, really nice guy. That's why you should never discriminate someone without learning about them, actually talking to them.
Okay. So I learned that like you need to pay attention and you need to like stay caught up and like things like that, and also that certain things are only fun when you like choose and it relates to you, like reading or like writing. I talked about earlier that writing is only fun when you get to choose the topic because you like it, and reading is only fun when you like the book.
Yeah, like with our short stories, like recently, like it's a lot better because you got into the story since it was all like your ideas and it wasn't someone else's, and you could really put that down. Good.
Yeah, I think that was more fun than like. I also learned what I like to write, like how 5-paragraph essays are not very fun compared to short stories because like you can get more into it and like have more fun with it when you're like allowed more like space to write, I guess.
I agree with Ashton and Alan because with the short story, there's a lot more diversity to it. Instead of hearing like the same topic over and over again, and it gets boring.
Noah?
I agree with Shay about peer reviews being good because it can help you catch mistakes that you didn't know you made.
Hudson.
Well, I learned you can always learn new things.
That's
Yeah.
true. I agree with that.
Aubrey.
For me, I feel like having to write a short story was kind of limiting because you had a word limit. And for me, the word limit was a bit too low. I had to edit the essay multiple times to cut it down. And I'd honestly prefer the essays because you have a limit of how low they need to be. But whenever we wrote them, I don't recall a certain limit of how much you can have on it. And then when we're able to choose what we're writing about, I found for me that I get a lot more passionate about it because, I either have background knowledge that I'm comfortable or this is something I want to learn about. So I'm probably going to write about more than I normally would if I wasn't interested.
Yeah, I agree. I would agree with you too, like on that. I wish except for like for the essays, I just wish we got to pick the topic more because then I feel like I would feel more passionate about that. So then we wouldn't have words, a certain amount of words we would have to.
I disagree with Aubrey because it wouldn't be a short story if you wrote like 30,000 words. That would be a full-on book.
It's kind of
Not a short story. That's why I think that the limit was on there.
I would just say maybe having a bit more leniency with the limit. Like, you can go a bit over, but at this point, you need to cut back.
Okay, so
Yeah.
to go off of what Aubrey and Shay were saying, I think that like we just try. Like I guess I try harder on the things that like I get to choose, and I end up doing better on them because I actually care about like what I'm writing when it's interesting compared to when I don't like what I'm writing about.
Yeah, and I think that like just applies to almost everything that you do in life. Like sports, for instance, if you don't like a sport, then you might find it harder to excel in it. And practice.
Anyone else need to add anything?
This last question. So yeah.
Scary.
I love what you've said, and I agree with all of
Look like
your-
me.
with your comments, especially about how your own choice gives you a voice. What happens, in even the essays where I chose the overall topic, you had choice about what you wanted underneath that topic. However, what happens when, because this is one thing I really hope you took away from this class. What happens when you have to do things that you don't?
You have to do it though.
Get over it.
To like learn to adapt to it. and, like,
Learning to adapt.
Figure
What's
it out.
one way that you can learn to
Okay.
adapt?
If the job pays you really good and you don't like the job, you want to do that
Stay
because
in
it pays
the
you
job.
good.
Well, there's some
Yes.
jobs that you don't even get paid for, and you still have to do them.
Like a
Well, that
find,
sucks.
find a way to get yourself interested in what you're writing.
Find your engagement.
Yeah.
Find your engagement. It's about your attitude, about your mindset. Because there's so much in life that we do get to choose, and we can throw our passion into that and do our best. But there's just as much in life that we don't get to choose. We still have to do in order to benefit ourselves and those around us. So choosing our attitude. Our attitude is the only thing that every single one of us will always have. The only thing in the entire world and in your entire life, your attitude is the only thing that you will always get to choose.
Yeah.
Great job, guys.
That was really
Love it.
wonderful.
So whose was better,
Hey,
us or
Jackson,
them?
you want this?
Ours.
She doesn't pick
I don't
favorites.
know.